Hey everyone, and welcome back. I am so incredibly excited you're joining us for this explainer today because we're going to dive into some fascinating science that, well, honestly, it's going to make a lot of sense to a lot of you. Have you ever wondered why some people literally dread being the center of attention? You know, why they physically squirm when the spotlight suddenly swings their way? Well, today we are breaking down the science of the mind to uncover the true cognitive burden of the spotlight. Get ready to decode the hidden psychology of your personality. Let's just jump right in.
So let me ask you a question. Do you secretly dread birthdays? And I mean, really think about it for a second here. Does the mere idea of a surprise party, or, standing awkwardly in the middle of our room while a bunch of people loudly sing happy birthday at you, does that fill you with this deep, sinking internal pressure? If you're nodding along right now, I want you to know you are absolutely not alone. And as it turns out, there's actually a very real biological reason for this feeling.
For years and years, society has made these huge assumptions, unfairly labeling folks who avoid the spotlight as simply being shy, or, even worse, antisocial. But the scientific reality? It tells a completely different story. We need to completely debunk this myth right here, right now. Avoiding the spotlight is not a character flaw. It's not some glitch in your personality. It is actually a highly specific and, frankly, fascinating cognitive process.
Okay, so moving into our first section, the spotlight dread, and the whole concept of forced celebration. Let's peel back the layers on this.
Think about the invisible rules of these kinds of celebrations. You must be happy. You must be incredibly grateful. You must do something special. I mean, honestly, just reading those out loud feels exhausting, doesn't it? Imagine the weight of carrying that. These unspoken societal expectations place this immense, heavy, performative burden on a person. It creates this deep internal pressure where you basically feel like you owe everyone around you a specific emotional reaction rather than just being allowed to exist as yourself.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the social vigilance trap, where the brain basically goes into overdrive. Now, this next part is really interesting.
We finally have a scientific name for this draining feeling, and it's called social vigilance. Basically, it's a state where your brain actively monitors every single reaction, every subtle facial expression, and every expectation in the room. When all eyes are on you, your mind essentially kicks into high gear. You become hyper-focused on acting exactly the way others expect a celebrated person to act. Suddenly, what's supposed to be this joyful occasion morphs into a grueling, highly scrutinized, forced performance.
And here is the crucial point. This state is profoundly exhausting because your nervous system intrinsically prefers natural, organic interactions over forced joy. Your brain, your body, they absolutely crave authentic engagement. They completely rebel against situations where you're socially required to put on a mask and fake a certain feeling. It's just this massive drain on your cognitive battery to maintain that level of heightened social monitoring.
Let's dive in a bit deeper into this psychology with Section 3, the power of privacy, and how healthy minds protect themselves. So when we look at human personality, there are really two ends of the spectrum here. On one side, we have external attention. These are the folks who genuinely seek out public recognition, likes, comments, literal applause, to feel seen. But then on the other side, we have what's known as a high privacy orientation. People with this orientation deeply value control over what others see. They fiercely protect their mental space, and they really rely on self-validation. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates how some incredibly healthy minds find deep inner security simply by protecting their inner world. Their existence literally doesn't need a massive public announcement or an audience to feel valid.
This actually ties directly into a fascinating concept known as low social dependency. It's this personality trait rooted in emotional independence. Basically, it means you don't require a special day or tons of external validation to confirm your self-worth. For someone with this specific trait, their sense of identity is totally rock solid. It stays completely stable whether it's a regular, mundane Tuesday or their huge milestone birthday. They just don't need that external spike of attention to know that they matter to the world.
All right, moving on to Section 4, avoiding the crash and looking at emotional regulation. Let's see how this ties into the literal neuroscience of it all.
So get this. It turns out some brains possess an actual biological wiring to avoid emotional spikes. And we aren't just talking about negative spikes here, we're talking about positive ones too. Why? Well, because these brains have learned over time that extreme emotional highs are almost always followed by exhausting emotional crashes. So bypassing the spotlight entirely, that's actually the brain's incredibly clever way of maintaining a safe, comfortable equilibrium. Let's break this down a bit more. On one hand, you have the cycle of extreme highs and crashes, which is often fueled by inconsistent celebrations or sudden, massive emotional spikes. But on the other hand, we see the alternative: quiet balance and safety. This is all about preferring simple days and sustainable mental regulation. Keeping things quiet isn't about being a killjoy, not at all. It's a brilliant mental regulation strategy. And let's be totally honest, in some cases, it's a learned protective mechanism. If someone grew up with, say, inconsistent celebrations or even emotional neglect in the past, their brain adapts by lowering expectations just to avoid being hurt. It's really all about preserving a safe, reliable baseline.
Which brings us to our final core resolution in Section 5, peace over performance, and how we redefine this behavior.
Ultimately, it really comes down to a choice between quality and ritual. A mandatory birthday post or a highly scripted performative party, that represents the ritual. But quality is a random, incredibly deep conversation with a good friend on an entirely ordinary afternoon. Treating a special day normally is actually a powerful sign of emotional independence. It's a beautiful, conscious preference for genuine, authentic connection over empty, scripted rituals that, frankly, just drain your cognitive battery.
I think the absolute crucial point is summarized so beautifully right here. Peace thrives in privacy, and your worth is never negotiable. Wow. What an incredibly powerful statement. Honestly, it doesn't matter who is watching or how many people show up to sing to you. Your worth is inherent. If your psychological wiring leans toward independence, reflection, and privacy, that is absolutely valid. You've simply realized that you don't need a grand performance to prove you exist.
So, I want to leave you with a provocative question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Do you rely on external validation or do you protect your peace? Take a moment and think about how your own mind works. Are you out there chasing the spotlight to feel seen, or are you quietly maintaining your equilibrium and trusting your own internal compass? If you found this breakdown insightful and you want to keep decoding the hidden psychology behind your personality, definitely hit that subscribe button right now. In our future explainers, we're going to keep uncovering the fascinating science of the mind that most people never even notice. Thanks so much for learning with me today. Protect your peace, and I'll see you next time.